Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Wednesday, March 11th. Can you believe it? We are almost halfway there. It's past daylight savings time. We have made it almost a quarter of the way through the year. Alex, where does the time go? And how are you doing, man?
Well, first of all, that's deeply upsetting.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah. I'm good though. It is already incredible outside, so it's hard to complain.
Yeah,
it's the little things.
You do live by the ocean.
I do. Yeah,
you do live by the ocean.
Not bad.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Wherever you are, whenever you listen, this is your place for helpful Web3 news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions. And we are live Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. We had trust issues last night. The night before, we had Market Watch. And tonight, we've got Rise Up After Dark. Lots of opportunities to have your crypto questions answered. Hang out with us. And the best one, saved it for last, is community.rumshq.com. That is the place the show lives 24/7. All the free educational resources that we've created are easy to link to there, and there is so much for you to explore. Thank you very much to the folks who make that the best part of what we do. Everybody asking, William Watson, he is
slacking.
He's working, Alex. He's not slacking.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. I think he's probably solving a supply chain crisis for somebody somewhere.
This is causing one.
Or causing one. That's also a possibility. And he sends his love. I'm sure he might be here in the comments a little bit later, but you will see him tonight on Rise Up After Dark.
Hey there, normies.
So, Alex, you know what? Today's going to be a good day. We've got a show about some of my favorite stuff. Really, we're getting into the nitty-gritty of Web3 with one of our friends from Epoch 9. Last year, our pals at Octant, don't know how, don't know why, but they chose us to be part of this incredible cohort of creative people. And today's guest is no exception. Drew Simon is the founder of Crypto Altruists. This is not just a show, though it is an excellent show for people who want to understand the impact of Web3 beyond cryptocurrency. He is also helping to bring leaders together in conversation, bring everyday people like you and I into the frame with helpful tools. I know he's going to tell us about a toolkit they just launched today to show all of us not only a better story, but a vision for how Web3 can be a powerful force for social, for environmental impact. I'm very excited to welcome back to the show, Drew Simon. Please help me welcome him. Drew, how are you today, man?
Evan, Alex, thanks so much for having me. I am good, thanks. I'm not by an ocean. I am in Toronto where it's pouring rain out and it's been wild temperature swings the last couple of weeks, but it's starting to feel like spring. So good to be here. Appreciate you having me back. Good to see you both.
Man, how you been since we talked last? It's been a couple months. It's like post Epoch 9. Have you been producing? Have you been building? Have you been having conversations? What are some highlights from the Drew Simon life?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like weird that it's been almost like 6 months, I think, since Epoch 9, which is just crazy to think about. Like, I feel like it was all, anyway, it feels both like it was like a year ago and like 2 months ago somehow at the same time. But yeah, it's been a wild ride since Epoch 9. Really been focusing on building out our toolkit, which we just put out for early access yesterday. And so that's just essentially a one-stop place for nonprofits or impact builders that want to learn about Web3, the different use cases and how they can, really start to leverage the tech to scale their impact, whatever that looks like. And then also just been like going all in on the podcast, been doing some really exciting collaborations there, brought on a lot of really great guests, and they just continue to put out content every day as well. And, another thing that I'm really excited about too is that we've really started to work more with nonprofits on the ground. And we're partnering with some incredible organizations in Eastern Europe and Central Asia right now to help them understand how to leverage Web3 to support with HIV/AIDS initiatives and including in places that are hard to reach, like folks on the ground in Ukraine and stuff like that. So very exciting work. And there's just so many amazing use cases that, since Epoch 9, it's just been like an explosion of more things that we've seen and more use cases and pilots. It's incredible. Despite the markets, the Web3 kind of impact space never stops going up, it seems.
Wow. Can you give us some highlights? Like those are like the quick blips, but I'd love for you to go deeper and talk about just, some of the really cool conversations or use cases you're hearing about. Share with our audience.
Yeah, for sure. So some of the recent ones I've had on is I had some folks on from a project called HESABPAY. That's HESABPAY. And they actually kind of like sprung up really out of necessity. It's based out of Afghanistan, and it was created in light of essentially the Taliban shutting down or taking control of all, the central banks and folks not being able to get money into the country, to get money to NGOs. So they essentially built a tool that enables them to do that with easy on-ramps and off-ramps to be able to get money into the country. But it's actually grown since then as well and become a huge tool for folks to transact between each other and move money. And so that's just like one really cool example that we've seen lately that has been exciting. Also done some coverage of something really cool called anticipatory action, which essentially leverages many different aspects of Web3 technology. So essentially what it is typical humanitarian aid is reactive. So there'll be, let's say, an earthquake, and then the community will come together, raise funds, send it over there. The problem is that, by the time that happens, it's less effective because it's hard to get the money there. The infrastructure might be, in peril. People might have already been, hurt or killed. And so it's too late. And so this idea of anticipatory action looks at using things like, weather data, predictive analytics, things that they're hearing on the ground from IoT sensors, bring it on chain via an oracle, and use smart contracts to automatically pay out funds to NGOs and individuals if they anticipate that there's going to be some sort of, natural disaster, extreme weather event. And so there's been some really cool pilot programs that have been testing this technology with farmers, smallholder farmers, for example, and crop insurance. So, if it detects that there's going to be a drought coming up or a massive storm, that they'll be able to pay things out in advance to help folks, get that support before the disaster hits. So those are just a couple of things that I've been, really exploring, and just a couple examples of some of these really exciting use cases that are just like rethinking how we, think about humanitarian aid, about value, about money, about, coordination. It's just incredible. And so, yeah, I mean, there's too many to mention. I have a podcast episode go out every week, and we bring on, lots of different guests focused on everything from philanthropy to, environment to humanitarian aid and, privacy and security. So yeah, it's been really exciting. There's no shortage of inspirational stories in this world.
No, and it's such a great fit for crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Really, truly.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we find ourselves saying a lot is crypto will be so much more than currency. Mm-hmm. And the technology that makes cryptocurrency possible will help you prove that you own important things in the digital and increasingly the physical world, lots of just little touch points. And so I think the story is some of the, like, it's easy to relate to a story. So let me just quickly plug this. If people want to start doing their homework at home, if you're on socials right now, then you can go to x.com/crypto_altruism, or the website is cryptoaltruists.com. Either way, just do a search for crypto altruists, crypto altruism. You will find it. And something I know you wanted to tell us about today was like the toolkit. I would kind of be excited while I've got the website up. Maybe you can tell us about, like, obviously people can find shows here, but there's more to explore. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So our podcast is like our bread and butter. So we have, I think, 260 something episodes. So we're not quite caught up with you guys at number 471 here, which kudos to you. That's amazing. So that's our bread and butter. We also do a lot of educational content and articles, infographics. We have a few different kind of hubs, like our hub for Ethereum, where we highlight different use cases in that ecosystem. Our Solana impact guide that we put out to focus on, how folks can leverage Solana to help whatever their social or environmental impact movement is, to kind of like leverage that and the different tools and partners that are available. What else do we have? And we also do work with, one-on-one with nonprofits too, that are interested in figuring out, how can we use this technology for good. And that looks different for everyone. And I also like to say too, that like, it's not right for everyone, at this time, right? Not everyone needs or has a good use case. And so I always encourage folks that, like, make sure that there's a good fit and that you're not just using crypto or blockchain for the sake of doing that. because that's where we start to see some of the projects that fall through and issues that come with that. So yeah, we do a lot of work one-on-one too to help nonprofits assess if there's a good fit, and if so, then how we can get them in the space and help them use this tech. So yeah, the website is kind of where everything's at, where you can learn about what we're doing, and the toolkit, which we just released on early access yesterday. We'll get the link up on the website later today. I did share a link with the team here as well. It's just cryptoaltruist.com/web3-impact-toolkit, where you can go for that. And that's our one-stop shop for kind of everything for nonprofits to learn about this tech and the different use cases that are out there. And includes everything from just some Explain It Like I'm 5 content, highlighting different core concepts around Web3, some modules on different use cases, which we're still updating. There's some, it's early access, so we're still uploading things on the go. Some case studies of different, times that these use cases have been put into practice on the ground. So you can see some of those, and those with a lot of our community partners that help put those together. We also have, oh yeah, I forgot to upload all the podcast episodes there. A policy hub where nonprofits can see different templates for policies that they can put in place to help them navigate Web3. So things like, how to safely custody assets, if you're accepting crypto donations, or how to come up with security and incident response plan if there's a loss of funds or a hack or something like that, right? And then also a resource library as well that we have in here that we're continuing to update too with different relevant tools and resources in this space. So yeah, it's a work in progress. Like I said, we just put it out on early access yesterday, really to get some feedback, and we're hoping to do more of a public launch in a couple of weeks once we have everything updated. And we need to get you on there, the Rise Up Morning Show on there.
Heck
So we'll make sure to do that as well.
This is awesome.
Very cool.
Awesome. We really do. We have a lot of people who want to know, like, how do we start using crypto right now? A lot of people want to understand how to use crypto for fundraising and beyond fundraising for impact. Alex, you've been in this world a little bit. You've dabbled a little in the getting crypto donations to nonprofits, or just helping them understand how these tools can benefit them. What a great resource this would have been, just to be able to say, like, oh, you want to use crypto? I'd actually just go to this website. Here you go.
Yeah. It's been very what's the word I want? Not like hodgepodge. It's been very rinky dink in the past.
And we're here.
How many years, if you wanted to use any of this stuff in a nonprofit structure, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of this came from too, is that I heard that from nonprofits, is like, I don't even know where to get started, or like there's so much noise. But also, like, I've been working with incredible organizations in Web3, and let's say there's the endowment and the giving block, and all these other kind of Web3 impact platforms, but they all have kind of their own different processes for onboarding and educating folks as well. And so we really wanted to say, like, what if there could be just like a central place that was consistently updated, that folks could be referred to, so that all these projects don't have to go through creating their own resources to get nonprofits into the space. There can just be a kind of a place where they can send people to learn about that. So yeah, it's a work in progress. I've been working on it for a couple of years now. And we'll hopefully have it all finalized in the next couple of weeks as we get more feedback as well, and be able to go live with the public launch soon.
Excellent. Okay, we're talking to Drew Simon. He's the founder of Crypto Altruists. He's just explained this incredible Web3 for Good Impact Toolkit. If you've got a question, maybe you're involved with a cause, a charity, a nonprofit, or you just want to understand a little better what this technology can do beyond currency, then feel free to leave it in the comments. We would love to know where you are, where you're listening from, if you're listening live, and especially if you're in podcast land. You can leave your questions for us in the comments. We will see them. We will share them with Drew. Tori said, love to hear that there is no shortage of inspirational stories in this world.
Correct.
I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will.
Oh, go
So I
ahead.
was just going to say, like, it's a challenging world for a lot of people, and I'm struggling with a lot of the stuff happening in the world too. And it's nice to be working in a place where I'm reminded that there's good things that happen still, and that there's good work being done. So yeah, well said, Tori. Thank you for sharing that.
Our friend Jay Heat said in the comments, what was the thing you said about farmers? He missed it. Talking about land.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very cool. So I was talking about anticipatory action, a new kind of like tool that uses tech to predict, disasters, humanitarian emergency so that they can get support to folks in advance of it happening. And there's been some cool pilots done. One by Mercy Corps Ventures supported a group of different organizations that used various different data, satellite data, weather data, IoT stuff from on the ground, brought it on chain with an oracle, and they were able to determine if certain conditions were going to be distressful for the folks on the ground, drought, extreme weather, whatever that is, and if those indicators were met, a smart contract would automatically trigger payouts to these folks in stablecoins. So it kind of uses so many different aspects of the crypto tech stack. It has the oracle that brings it on chain, the blockchain for like the verification side of things, the smart contract to initiate it, and then the crypto rails to actually send the money over as well. So another great project that has explored this is Etherisk, that does a similar idea, but with crop insurance for smallholder farmers. So if they anticipate that if there's going to be like an extreme weather event, they'll actually send out these payments in advance so that these farmers could do things like protect their crops or bring in more people to help them prepare or whatever it is, as opposed to getting it after the fact when it's kind of too late.
Yeah, it's important to have it when you need it.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know then, we've talked a little about some of those stories. Do you have like a pitch, a step 1, 2, 3? I'm sure it's different for every conversation, but somebody comes to you and they say, okay, well, I'm a nonprofit. You say, obviously, like, go to the toolkit, but what are some of the tips you think have the most bang for the buck? Is it between donations in crypto, something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that I say take it slow for sure. Cause it's a very fast moving space. So it can feel hard to take it slow because you feel like you're falling behind and there's that FOMO, but there's so much happening, and, with that comes risk, challenges, and opportunities. And we say that like a good first step for most nonprofits, again, it's different for everyone, but for most nonprofits is just to get set up to accept crypto donations as a first step. That could be as simple as, taking a few minutes to get set up on one of the many different, platforms that exist out there that help you manage everything in terms of like, they'll do everything from custodying to automatically converting, donations and sending them to your account, those sorts of things. And then there's some that are more just like, set up your wallet and you have an address and, donors can send funds there that are more like basic where you custody it yourself. So different like levels there, but that's a great starting point because it gets your foot in the door. It gets you to kind of like connect with another community, because by being on one of these platforms, you then also get exposed to different folks in the space. You connect with, other nonprofits that are using that. And then it also kind of gets you to a chance to understand the technology a bit more as well. And we often find that that's a great launching point for nonprofits if they start with that, to then kind of explore other use cases. So that could be things like, okay, so now we've got crypto philanthropy down. Maybe we can look at how we can bring some decentralized governance elements in, or we can look at, impact tokenization or on-chain, monitoring and verification for our impact or those sorts of things. But I think it's about like taking, small steps. And for many nonprofits, that, the best advice is just join spaces like this. Hop in different spaces on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever it is, and just start to engage, learn, meet people, connect. And I say to nonprofits too, that like a great kind of thing to keep in mind is that like, you're probably not the first nonprofit looking to explore this use case or looking to leverage Web3 to support your cause area, whatever it is. So whatever like you're focused on, there's probably a different organization or Web3 community out there that is also focused on something similar. Connect with them, coordinate. That's a great way to get into, because it opens you up to their community, and then you have someone that can support you along the way. And one of the great things about crypto is I found that like, over the last couple of years, I think it has changed a little bit, but it's still relatively easy to get in a room with people, with potential partners and folks that are leading really cool projects in ways that I haven't seen in other places or other spaces that I've worked before. It's very open, collaborative. And so it's sometimes as simple as reaching out and, just connecting with folks too and learning from them. And so that's the typical advice I get is like, just get set up to accept cryptocurrency donations and to start custodying assets and join these communities and connect with partners is, and take it slow. It's kind of the one thing at a time, make sure you have good plans in place. And this can be challenging, obviously, for smaller organizations versus bigger organizations that have the capacity. So lots of considerations there, but those are kind of some general tips I would give. Yeah,
the smaller ones, it's tough, especially for, solo or, single digit people nonprofits. Absolutely. Just because no one has any time, no one has any money. Yeah. And, the thought of like adding a tool set that you just heard about that also sounds kind of scammy, that also could potentially take a lot of time. And I mean, some of those big ones, like I can't remember if it's NGiven or the Giving Block. One of those charges nonprofits an annual rate just to maintain the availability of donation acceptance, even if you don't receive any money through the platform. And I've found that if you argue with them, they'll usually knock it down quite a bit just for fear of losing you. But it's definitely worth it to like look at a free, like you said, it's very easy just to spin up a wallet and start accepting it without one of those things. You just have to keep really good documentation, like Wall Street was talking about, especially when it comes time for taxes. You got to make sure that all that stuff is, readily available, easily accounted for, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that like one of my fears when I, got into the space was that would this just become kind of another tool for like exacerbating those gaps between like those large NGOs that have thousands of employees and billion-dollar budgets versus the smaller like grassroots groups that are working on the ground. So, it's been really cool seeing also like there's a lot of great projects that have really focused on like localism and smaller kind of, organizations as well. So it's been great highlighting some of those projects and learning from them about like, what are some of the, tips and tricks to make sure that we can onboard folks and, reach people that typically would be not reached. And as opposed to just like, giving more tools to these big nonprofits to continue to get bigger. Right. And so that's definitely a challenge. And, I despite all that, it's definitely certainly easier for a nonprofit that has the legal team, the finance team, the IT team to get this all set up versus, a couple folks working in a room together and doing some awesome work on the ground. So, that's a big part of this toolkit too, is that we want to get feedback from smaller organizations to say like, how can we make this more accessible for you? Because small organizations have unique challenges, and it's a more challenging time than ever to be a nonprofit with, cuts to funding, different, shifts in priorities around the world. And so hopefully this can be helpful in helping some of those smaller nonprofits navigate that.
There's something that I am seeing a lot right now in our space where people are kind of talking about this like hyper financialization. Stablecoins are big. It seems like everybody in every ecosystem is competing for stablecoin dominance, is competing for payments, is competing for institutional money on chain. And maybe it's just where my timeline is. But the whole reason I got into crypto was because I saw it as a viable alternative medium for people to start making meaning about money, value, about distributing resources, and aligning our values to coordinate in ways that like money as a tool kind of made difficult. And I'm just curious what you think about the state of Web3 for good. The Web3 movement beyond money. Do you feel like we're losing the plot of that? Do you think there are new leaders emerging? The sense I get is that, not that we're running out of gas because there's plenty of stuff happening, but for somebody who's new here, I feel like it's harder to find some of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's certainly harder to find kind of the impact during, times where things are quieter and slowing down a bit. But at the same time, it's, I think makes it a bit easier to like sift through the noise, I think, in a sense, for folks, which is certainly helpful too. But the vibes have definitely been different. And I will say that like, when it comes to like crypto philanthropy, there's obviously a direct correlation between the prices of assets and like, the amount of funds that are being donated, right? People want to donate when their, assets are worth more. So, we see a decline there, certainly in times like this, and also outside of tax season, people like to give near the end of the year, those sorts of things. So there's definitely some slowdowns there on the philanthropy side of things. But I think that like what we are seeing is that like the use cases that don't necessarily rely on that are the ones that are really thriving, right? And, I think that we're also like seeing in the space a shift towards really like, it's very aspirational early on, kind of like exploring that like, oh, crypto can be everything for everyone. It's going to be like a panacea for all the woes in the world. And I think that like we're getting to a place now where things are becoming a lot more like realistic and grounded and kind of reality and pragmatic. And, we're kind of getting back to the use cases that really work, right? And that's things like stablecoins that might kind of sound boring, but like, stablecoins, I really believe, are becoming the new rails for humanitarian aid around the world, right? And we're seeing them used in so many creative ways. We've seen the UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, partner with Stellar to deliver aid to refugees via stablecoins from the Ukrainian war. We've seen, like I said, like HESABPAY, another great example of that. We've seen companies like HESABPAY, which make HESABPAY, which make it super cheap to send remittances abroad, and they facilitated nearly 10 million in remittances to South Sudan alone. Like, stablecoins, just like, sounds boring, but we're getting back to the roots of what the kind of like, of what this technology can do. It doesn't have to be everything to everyone. And like, those financial use cases, those things that allow people to coordinate and kind of create value together, are the ones that are really like, standing out now, not the ones that were kind of maybe more like aspirational and hypey before. So I think that one thing that's been valuable during this shift is that I think it has really helped us, get back to our roots and really understand, like, what are the things that work? What are the things that, can be easily accessible? And, when it comes to stable coins, there's so many platforms that make it so easy to get, on ramp to off ramp to start using these. MiniPay is a great example. In Africa, they have, I think, 7 or 8 million people signed up now to a wallet that's super easy to use. And it's being tons of off ramps, tons of utility. Yeah, so that's MiniPay, and that's a collaboration between Opera Browser and Cello, I want to say. They've onboarded millions and have tons of active users, and it's responsible for a lot of Cello's growth, actually. So there's lots of tools that are making these like kind of core use cases a lot easier as well, because the user experience was always something that made it difficult earlier on. And I think that over the last, let's say, 6 months to a year, we've really started to kind of like hammer down on that, while also hammering down on the use cases that have the most value.
Yeah, shout out to the teams doing work like this. Do you remember the Chivo wallet when they onboarded El Salvador?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a huge case study, success story. There were a lot of things about that were not terribly successful. Like, it turns out that giving everyone aid in Bitcoin made a couple of things difficult, but they had the team that did it. I remember we heard the story about how they took over this pilot with the government from another project that just said, we really don't have the infrastructure to roll out these wallets. And they had something like 90 days, 60 or 90 days or something, to basically stress test a new wallet product that would be consumer facing and would help disperse aid in the form of Bitcoin to millions of people. And I think they onboarded like 4 million people. The Beans wallet is another one that our friend Lindsay from Stellar Development Foundation has talked a lot about and has
Lindsay, I love Lindsay. Yeah. Had her on the podcast before. Yeah.
Love Lindsay. Yeah. You had her, I feel like I saw that you had her on maybe just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say probably a couple of months back, highlighting their work in Guatemala with a great group called Hoop Sagrado to help them, use the Stellar Disbursement platform to get funds to folks on the ground and to facilitate payments for the nonprofit. Yeah, so it's really great work. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are so cool. And she actually, I just saw her post that she is leaving the Stellar Development Foundation. Do we know where she's landed, Alex? I know we had talked to her a little about. Yeah, no.
Yeah. But I think
is
that's
it public?
Okay. It's for her to say.
Lindsay, come on the show and tell everybody about it, because we're gonna need it. If you want to catch up with it, she had a really great post. Just because we have a lot of friends in the audience who love Lindsay too, she had this really great post. I would encourage everybody to check out. If you're in podcast land, the handle is Lindsay with an A, POSS, P-O-S-S. She did this super write up about all the different things that she contributed to in her time working for Stellar, and it was like, dang, you have been so busy. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of it just really has to do with like helping everyday people get access to better solutions through crypto. It's so cool. I'm
opening that right now. That's amazing. Yeah I gotta have to read this. Yeah, I mean, and Stellar is a great example of like a blockchain and the Stellar Development Foundation behind it that have like really been like just doing good on the ground and building these use cases since the beginning without being too hypey and loud about it. It's just like they're just doing the work, and doing good work and building the solutions. And these are great examples as in Lindsay's post here about seeing that actually translate to something on the ground, which is awesome.
Yeah. Alex, I've been dominating the conversation, and like I said, I know that this is something that you have some experience with, is the different opportunities and problems to bring like impact to crypto, or crypto impact to other organizations. So please, if I've missed a question in the comments, or if there's somewhere you want to take it, I'm glad to defer to you.
No, I just think it's really important because obviously, we have as has been being pointed out more and more, there's a pretty significant optics problem here. And if any of this, like, I mean, and I don't care what your motive is. If your motive is just that you want your bag to increase in value, then that's got to get worked on. And projects like this help do that. And I always think it's funny that we're like really concerned about the optics, and we want more people to like find value in all this kind of stuff. And then things like this are often harder to get off the ground than like another perps dex or something.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know, like what's Hyperliquid's oil contract done? Since
The oil
like
futures?
well over $1 billion in volume in the last couple of days.
Probably in the time we've been sitting here having this conversation, it's done millions in volume.
Yeah.
Millions, I would imagine.
Not an knock to Hyperliquid, they're killing it, but
No.
I don't know. I want to see more folks. That's why when I originally found Octant, I thought it was really cool. The work that you guys are doing is really cool. I think for me, it's all about streamlining for nonprofits. We've talked to some, I mean, like friends at St. Jude that obviously have a ton of people, including an entire department committed to working on like how to meaningfully integrate Web3 stuff specifically and properly. But then I know like the dog rescue that I work with, it's one guy, and he has the capacity to like add another app, you know, like if he was to, you know, get something else that someone could get a handle from and donate to that way. That's about the limit of like what he has time for. But like it's really necessary, especially because in crypto, your average donation in crypto compared to your average fiat donation, I mean, it's not even 10 to 1. It's not even 100 to 1. It's like it's like
massive.
more than I think Evan, do you remember this?
80 times. I thought it was less than 100, but I thought it was 80. And this is probably like a 4-year-old stat, and it might have been done by the Giving Block. Might have been in Giving. I think it was Giving
I
Block.
remember that stat.
You know?
Yeah.
It was like the average crypto donation is 80 times larger than the average donation in fiat currency, and the average donor is like in their 20s, 40 years younger.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. It's insane.
I would be curious to see how that has changed, because that stat specifically came out in like 21, 22.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like it's definitely changed. And also like, as you know, because that came out at a time too, there was less like cheap options to make donations, and also during like my market high cycle. And so gas was really high and everything. And, you know, now there's a lot more options for like smaller payments. So I think, you know, we're seeing smaller donations. But, you know, one example that I find really interesting, and this blew my mind the other day when I was looking at it, I was on Endowment's website, and they've facilitated $130 million in donations with only 5,100 donations. So if you calculate that out, it was, you know, tens of thousands of dollars per. But they also do donor advised funds that grant out funds in large amounts too. So that's just what's the word I'm looking for? Just a one-off example. But, you know, I think it's still definitely the case that we're seeing, you know, people make large donations in crypto more so than, you know, typical cash donations, but it's definitely narrowing a bit, I think, as it gets cheaper and easier for folks to make donations in smaller amounts too.
I mean, the last big donor round that I got to assist with and nominate people for and whatever was through Endowment, and it was from the White Whale, and it was 1.5 million in 10 transactions.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah,
not messing around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Jillian. That was the farms gift that you're talking about there. So our friend, and Jillian is a very accomplished lawyer. She's an author. She helps landowners, farmers, especially in rural communities, protect their land ownership rights, pass it on, and then also to like prevent food waste and redistribute otherwise like wasteable food to people in hunger. And she's done a lot. She's millions of pounds of food, and she uses crypto to do it. And she wrote a book. I want to say it's cryptocurrency, agriculture, and oh gosh, Alex, 30,000 acres, 30,000acres.org is the website, and I can look it up. And we plug her every chance we get because she's just like, I don't know how she has time in the day to do all this stuff, but Jillian is like a tireless advocate for those people, and she's someone who's on TikTok. So when you get over here, you can check her out. Yeah, cool. Agriculture and Crypto. The book is called, hold tight, agriculture, blockchain, and cryptocurrency. And her organization is called FARMS, Family Agricultural Resource Management Systems. Jillian?
This is so cool.
It's seriously cool. Yeah, she's helped a lot of folks. And last year, as a little thank you, she sent Alex and I some produce from
amazing
farmers. I got some Mississippi honey and some pickles. Yeah, they were
so
killer.
Cool. And that's, what's so interesting is that like I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. We launched in May 2021, I think, and I'm still discovering new projects like this every day, which is crazy, right? And like this looks so cool, so I definitely have to get in touch with them.
Yeah, 30,000acres.org. We will be glad to connect you with Jillian because she's just a delightful person. She would be an excellent guest for your show. She's definitely a television lady. And
we'll make a note of that. Yeah, we'll definitely connect about that offline because I would love to. Yeah.
Okay, another thing I wanted to plug while we're talking about it is our friends over at Octant. If you're not familiar with Octant, you can head over to octant.app to see like how would you describe what Octant does to create impact? Because as you were explaining the different particulars you guys of crypto philanthropy, I was like, oh, we got to talk about Octant. And Drew, you were part of Epoch 9, but I remember you were also part of Epoch 10 too, yeah?
So that was a surprise.
That was very cool.
Yeah, for sure. And what I love about Octant is that like it's kind of another way of like I think that they're playing a role in helping rethink philanthropy and giving from more of like donations to more of like yield generation and using that to fund, things. And that's what I really like about Octant is that like they've, millions of dollars in funding has gone out to incredible projects purely off their yield, right? And I mean, obviously the the Gollum Foundation had tons of ETH to stake, which is behind that. But now they've opened it up to with Octant V2 that other, ecosystems can do the same, right? So there could be, let's say, a community foundation that, grants out funds to different organizations every year that could set up their own treasury and, have folks, stake to it and then delegate out to, projects from their yield on an ongoing basis. Another great project, I think it's just impactstake.com. I want to say it's by Launch Nodes, and it's an impact staking platform where folks can stake their ETH or stablecoins and then determine which of many nonprofits or organizations those funds go to on a regular basis. So let's see if social impact LIS down a bit. So that one right there, yeah.
It's a Lido thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not actually officially Lido. And I think that they actually changed the name. It was originally called Lido Impact Staking. I don't think they actually had an affiliation with Lido, but so they have tons of organizations that you can stake and donate to, which is really incredible too. So like we're seeing, I think, a new way of thinking. Another example actually is I had someone on the podcast from a group called Somos Axolotl, which does axolotl conservation in Mexico. Super cool. And they've actually launched a Solana validator node, which folks can stake to as well. And they use that to fund their operations. And I think they were able to fund 100% of their operations 1 year based solely on that. And so like, it's just this idea of like creating new models where it's less about like you give up money and like a donation's kind of like a zero sum game, and that like someone's winning, someone's losing, to like one that's a positive sum game where like you're giving funds but also gaining some from it as well, and not necessarily losing your your principal in the progress. So it's a really different way of kind of like thinking about giving, from just giving as a donation to giving as creating value and then continuously granting it out.
I heard a really good explanation of and pitch for this concept the other day. It was on the Boys Club show. Quasi-Matt, internet friend, was saying, if you stake your ETH, you're going to get what, like 1 or 2%. And in some cases, if you're doing it on Coinbase or Kraken, you're just enriching and empowering, Brian Armstrong or whatever to go do his thing. Wouldn't you rather allocate your stake to a public goods project and not only generate a return, but generate a return that goes to somebody else and multiplies the value of whatever you had being worth it? I was like, yeah, that's totally it. That's a great pitch for Octant. It's a great pitch for, I'll have to check out Impact Stake because that's hyper.
And the great thing about Impact Stake too is you can like determine how much you want to withdraw for rewards and how much you want to donate. So like even if you want to donate a small amount, it's still something, right? And you can change that over time, change the organizations you want to support. So yeah, it's really really quite an exciting movement, I think. We're also seeing stable coins that are like focused on good too, like Low Dollar, that if you hold their stable coin as opposed to like Tether, then that'll generate yield, and that yield goes to different public goods and charitable projects as well. So yeah, lots of great kind of projects that are experimenting with this concept that I think will totally revolutionize charitable giving.
Another perfect example of why the tax system is completely broken, because if you're like putting capital to work and participating in something like that, and you're not allowed to write it off, that's insane. Like you would only be able to, actually, I don't even know what that would look like. Jessica, if you're here, maybe you know better than I do, but what that would look like if you are earning staking, or I guess technically you don't earn the staking yield if you are already.
Yeah, I don't think it actually lands in your wallet. So I'm curious if that would then not count as an event or a transaction.
I mean, it certainly shouldn't. If it did, that would be insane. But I still think you should be able to deduct the amount of capital that you're like allocating to the stake in general. One, because you're working for the blockchain in that case. But two, here, if you're staking with, one of these philanthropic, providers or something like that, then even more so. Just because the coolest thing about staking and yield going into a donation or in towards a nonprofit or something is that the overwhelming majority of people who donate are micro donors. Yeah. And being able to stake and contribute the yield allows you to routinely and regularly contribute almost in perpetuity without losing your funding capital. So that if you get to the point where you actually need that money back, you can take it back, and you have still been contributing the entire time. It's not like you're then, taking money away from the nonprofit you donated to, because if you make a donation because you really feel like it's important to you, but then you realize you made a mistake, you can't really like go back and like, crap, actually I need it back.
Yeah.
And this mitigates for that in a huge way. I don't know why it's not. It's the coolest thing ever. Actually, this exact project, not this one, but one similar to it, which is what it wanted to be, what this is what first led me to Octant. I don't know, man.
Oh, very cool.
20, I'd have to look, 23. I don't remember. Yeah. It's been years.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think that like one of the other benefits of this type of thing too is that like one of the biggest pain points, and I'm sure you know this, Alex, of nonprofits is just like grant chasing, or like going from funder to funder, not knowing if you're gonna be able to fund your operations or, this important staff position, the next month, right? And so like this also can help kind of create that more consistent ongoing funding and, sustainable revenue rather than just like having to go from grant to grant, all the time too. So I think that that's another benefit for nonprofits is, hopefully making it less of a like up and down kind of funding cycle where it's like continuously, stressing to pay those bills and hoping that the money comes in time.
Yeah. And the options are expanding. Definitely expanding, for everybody, donors of all sizes, charities and causes of all sizes. I expect that if we have this conversation again in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, it'll be really, really exciting. And that's kind of the last question that I had for you is, as you look to the future, is there anything particular on the horizon that is coming, whether it's like a protocol thing, a tech thing, or a cause coming on chain, or something that you imagine might come and would be a game changer that gets you excited and keeps you doing this work?
Oh, great question. I think that, and it's funny, I ask a similar question to a lot of guests that I have on the podcast, but I find when I get asked the same question, I'm always like, oh crap, I think get put on the spot and deer in the headlines a little bit here. But I think looking forward to the future, there's quite a few things that I'm excited about. One thing that's more of like a kind of personal thing that I'm a part of is Goodnow is one organization that's out there. Originally launched as a UBI protocol, but they've recently launched a program called the Good Builders Program, where they provide funding for folks building like novel use cases to help folks, get into the good dollar ecosystem and address, things like financial inclusion. And it's called Good Builders, and it's in season 3. And I'm a mentor for one of the projects on there. And it's a really cool kind of like campaign that has a lot of really locally focused, smaller on the ground organizations and projects. So it's a great kind of, one to look to see some cool use cases that are being, tested out around that are very local in practice and very community based. I think in terms of things that I'm excited to looking forward to the future is just like continuing to see, these pilots run out. And I want to give a shout out to Mercy Corps Venture that has really focused on funding different pilot projects to test these use cases that haven't been tested before. And that's one of the big barriers, right? Is like, getting to a point where you can have something that's proven and has that kind of backing behind it. And so they've done some great case studies with things like anticipatory action, like I highlighted before. And I think anticipatory action is just about like 1 to 3% of all humanitarian aid currently. And so I think that that's one area where there's a huge opportunity for growth, that if we can get that shift from 1 to 3% to even 50%, there's some stat out there that I think it was, this aid can be 7 times more effective if it's given in advance than after the fact, for a number of reasons. Doing things in advance, getting your family to safety, protecting your livestock, if you're, like a pastoralist or a farmer, whatever it is so much more impactful than having to use those funds after the fact to try and just like clean up. And also infrastructure breakdowns happen during, disasters, during extreme weather. So it can be harder to get the funds to those folks. And there's more of that kind of lost kind of value along the journey, right? So that's one area in particular that I'm definitely going to be watching, because it has so much potential to, really revolutionize humanitarian aid and make it not only more impactful, but also a lot more, cost friendly and quicker. And so that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And I want to give a shout out to Mercy Corps Ventures, because they're doing a lot of really cool pilot studies in this area. And then I think one thing that I'm really just focusing on too is like really trying to explore the use cases of stablecoins and get those out there as well, because that's one that has really shined through despite changes in market conditions and the hype cycles and everything like that. Is that stablecoins has emerged as what I believe the killer use case for Web3 Impact at this point, and we're seeing it used to get millions of dollars to folks in need, all over the world in different ways, and to facilitate transactions, between folks, like with HESABPAY in Afghanistan, where folks are using that to move tons of money now, because it's become such a dominant tool out of necessity, right? And so I think that like stablecoins is another one that I'm definitely really excited about. And my prediction there is that they will in the next couple of years become the dominant rail for humanitarian cash transfers and humanitarian aid. And so that's one that I'm really excited to as well, because I think that even if we can get the cost down of aid by a couple percent, it could translate to billions in the long run. So yeah, it's so much exciting work happening in this space. And yeah, I mean, I could go on forever about all the different use cases. Decentralized science, I didn't even get a chance to talk about, and all the cool stuff happening there. But yeah, there's so much happening in this space.
I got to ask you to talk about that just quickly before you go, because my impression of decentralized science so far is that it is a consummation devoutly to be wished, but that mostly it is a lot of people who have like pie in the sky aspirations to compete with Eli Lilly with an NFT collection or something like that. You know what I mean? Guys, let's raise $10 million and disrupt the pharmaceutical industry. Seems cute because, that's, I don't know. What's the meaningful impact of DeSci right now and where it's going?
So I think like DeSci is an interesting one, because I agree that like there's been a lot of like hype around it and stuff like that. And there has been some projects that are more hype based. But there also have been, a lot that are really grounded in really like positive kind of use cases and like have a good focus and have a good team around it. Athena DAO is one that I often point to that, has raised, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point for research into women's health, which is, significantly underfunded, and have supported some great research. I know that BioDAO supported some really cool research around another one, Cerebrum DAO, I think it is, around like Alzheimer's research and stuff. That's again, also underfunded. So there are some, good ones happening that are raising funds and getting them, to folks in need. And I think with decentralized science, what I'm really excited about though is that, science is like, right now, every time anyone does sort of like any scientific research through a university, there's a massive tax on it, which is, getting it published, right, in a peer-reviewed journal, which is essentially just an intermediary that does really nothing except extract value, right? And I think what decentralized science is doing is it's creating some really cool open infrastructure for folks to be able to, change that system. Because, if these archaic, bureaucratic, expensive journals aren't in the middle that are preventing scientists from getting their research to market and really focusing on the things that humanity needs as opposed to where the profit motive is, there's huge potential to accelerate science there. And so that's obviously a big ambition out there, but that is something that I think, if that can be addressed, would have a massive impact on humanitarian progress anywhere in the world, because, we're taking a huge tax off of science by doing that. And so, the long-term like aspiration is certainly there, but there is also still stuff happening today of really cool research on the ground exploring, very important medical and scientific questions. So yeah, it's an interesting area with a lot of noise. So one to navigate carefully for sure.
Yeah,
Alex,
the
go
big
ahead.
problem with the DeSci stuff is not the mission or the focus or the plan, but rather I think like the implementation of the stack right now, because we still have this like outsized expectation for crazy returns on stuff. And so when people like contribute to a token that is DeSci in nature, without really considering the fact that you know, the scientific process consumes a tremendous amount of money, and may or may not lead you to you know, something that then returns money. It may just lead to information, to answers, to you know, whatever, an advancement in some capacity that doesn't necessarily turn into a financial return, then it's looked at as a failure, and then the thing dies even if it's doing really good work. So like 100% agree. DeSci is one of like the coolest single areas where we can apply decentralization to something to make it immediately better and like more valuable, but not in a dollar by dollar basis. And so then it's just consistently being looked at by most people who just buy the token as a failure, which is a huge problem.
Absolutely, for sure. And I think that that's, you know, another challenge too, is that, you know, there was a lot of like focus on like DeSci kind of meme coins as well, and like really, you know, going on the kind of coattails of that movement there. And that I think has also, you know, turned some people off, I think, or you know, made some people kind of question the space. So yeah, definitely some great work happening. But I think you're right, is that, you know, the implementation, you know, so hopefully a couple of years from now, if we do this conversation on a more regular basis, we can update on these things, and hopefully there'll be some great progress there.
Yeah, I would like that if you would be our public good impact correspondent. Drew Simon, ladies and gentlemen. Alex, I saw we had a question from Solom in the comments. Do you know there? Can you?
Yeah, I think he was looking at the website with regards to booking consultations and was curious about the process and the price and all that stuff about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely you can reach out. There's a contact form on there if you're a nonprofit interested in partnering. You know, we've done a lot of different partnerships in the world, some are all around the world in the history of crypto altruists. Some have been, you know, pro bono. Sometimes, you know, well, if the nonprofit has a grant and, you know, can afford to, they'll fund us. Sometimes we'll apply for grants to fund, you know, the work too, if it's a bigger project. So it definitely depends based on like the size of the project and the nonprofit we're working with in terms of like what that could look like. You know, and if there's not a fit, that's fine. I'm still happy to connect you with people, right? And like for nonprofits that reach out and say, hey, I need help with this, I might not be in a position where I can do that, or, you know, have the capacity at that point to maybe take that on pro bono. But then at the very least, I can refer you to other folks that can, if you're, you know, if need be as well. So definitely reach out. At the very least, we can have a conversation and I can help connect you to folks as well. But yeah, that's what I'd say. Reach out, we'll get in a call, and I'd be happy to sit down and learn more, and we can go from there.
So the call is a free consultation.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I wouldn't even say it's like a consultation per se. It's more of like an intro call and like just learning about like, you know, the organization and kind of like what they're working on. And yeah, happy to give advice and stuff like that too. Like, again, like, you know, that's not a key kind of like profit driver for our organization. It's an important part of what we do, but really like I'm excited about getting people into the space. So if the conversation leads to the nonprofit exploring, you know, crypto, that's great. Even if it's not with us.
Man, what a guy. Okay. I want to give you a chance to say a final thought, last question, a suggestion, good joke, a word of wisdom, or something like that for the audience. I know you got another interview coming up, but let me just remind everyone listening that you can find our good friend Drew Simon over at cryptoaltruists.com. You can find him on X at DW Simon. And I'm sure if you just forget that, but you remember crypto for good, crypto altruists, that you will find him, or come to us and we'll put you in touch with him. Drew, do you have anything that you want to leave our audience with today before you go?
Yeah, something that I've been thinking a lot about lately over the last couple of years that's really kind of changed my perspective, or more so informed my perspective of crypto and Web3, is that like, I think in the early days and when I got into this, I kind of like, you know, was really, you know, buying into the hype around like crypto can really solve all these things and be, you know, this amazing tool for the world and yada, yada, yada. And it's about creating new things, right? But I think what I've learned is that crypto is less about creating new things as opposed to like helping communities do things that they've been doing for a long time better, right? And I think of examples like there's a great organization called Grassroots Economics. They were my last podcast episode. I had Will from their team on, and they're doing a lot of experimentation with community currencies, with things like saving circles in countries all over the world, which have been an important part of communities for centuries, where they have these different kind of forms of like social and reputational capital, which they'll use to kind of like, exchange and support each other and create economic activity. And, another great example is like co-ops, kind of the OG DAOs, right? And so I think that it can be really helpful to look back to what folks have been doing for centuries and recognize that, crypto didn't invent decentralization. Decentralization has been a concept used in communities for centuries, going back a very long time. And it's important for us to kind of think about how can we learn from that and use this technology to help communities do these things better, as opposed to just, thinking like we have to create something new and shiny and special. So that's kind of the thing that I thought I'd leave the audience with for today.
Ladies and gentlemen, monsters and machines, Drew Simon. Thank you, Drew, for making time to be on the show. We will tag you on all the clips. We will be with you in the messages. We'll send everybody to you, and we hope that until we get to meet again, that you're well, my friend.
Thank you so much. We'll have to make this a regular thing. I'd love to have you guys on the pod sometime too in the future. Return the favor. So thank you so much for having me. Thanks to the community for joining in. Reach out if you want to get in touch, have any questions. Would love to connect. So thank you.
That sounds good. We'll see you next time, Drew. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.
Ooh-wee. What a great conversation. Leif said W's for Drew. Big time W's. Solum Spartan says, thank you. We'll be in touch. Cannot wait to have more people connected to the movement for impact. Very cool, right, dude? Love it.
Very cool. Yeah, very important.
Yeah, super. We've got a couple of good questions in the comments that I want to get to. Not that there's any such thing as a bad question, but if there is, we got the sound effects ready for it. So leave yours. We still got time on the show before we ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset. We've got Rise Up After Dark tonight. Lots of opportunities to ask us your crypto question. Alex, I'm going to kick it to you and say, do you want to go next to our friend Angela in the YouTube comments, who's got some fat bags, she says, but they're not doing nothing for her?
Yep.
She wants to learn how to earn interest. Or do you want to go check out this No-KYC crypto payment card that friend of the show, Neil, was telling us about?
I was looking at that, but let's start with the yield. Let's start with the yield first.
Okay, this comes from Angela over on YouTube. Angela, thank you for the back and forth in the comments, and thank you for trusting us to help you with this. Here is the summary of her question. She uses a Trezor cold wallet. She says she has an Elapal, but she hasn't opened it yet, and has mostly Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and then a couple other random tokens in small amounts. She said she'd like to send money directly to people suffering in Iran right now. And she'd also like to learn more about how she can earn, especially if she can keep those things on her cold storage wallet and earn. So where do we want to take her? What do we want to show her today?
Well, we're going to the place of places.
The place of places?
The llama's house.
Yeah! You're talking about DeFiLlama.com.
This is DeFiLlama.com. And right here on the side menu, right from the homepage, yield.
Love it. Love it.
And right now this is unfiltered. So you're tracking 14,000 different pools over 523 protocols on 120 different blockchains. So we need to narrow things down a little bit. So actually, ooh, hey, look at that. There's presets now. That's cool.
Whoa,
so if you just hit the presets, it's going to immediately drop you into the big stuff. So let's start with ETH, just because these are the biggest by far. So I think what was it, the major three: Bitcoin, ETH, Sol. So I'll be honest. As far as Bitcoin is concerned, limited yield opportunities. It's not really how it works. They do exist. Okay. There's some stuff. There's some different things you can do with it besides just like earning yield, but you take that one. So ETH and Sol. Ethereum, tons of places. Rates will be displayed right here. Some stuff that you can consider depending on exactly what it is that you want. Sometimes yield on stablecoins is higher than native ETH yield, and by sometimes I mean every time. Native ETH yield is actually pretty low. Some of the ways to increase yield with with Ether specifically is to engage in things that are a little bit more layered in the DeFi world. I mean, like getting into looping.
Yeah, borrowing.
Yeah, so looping is supplying collateral and then also taking out a loan at the same time, and then taking that loan that you took out of to also then supply more collateral to compound the amount of interest that you're earning, while then borrowing more and supplying more. So you kind of like, you're enabling this circuitous loop of funds in order to capitalize the most on both sides of a lending and borrowing protocol. And it sounds worse than it is, because at this point, most of these things, many of the big platforms that do have a looping option, it's a single click loop, and then it manages it for you and you just kind of monitor it. So that's kind of where I would start. So basically, the way to read this list, you have the pool, you have the project that curates the pool, the chain that the project exists on, its total TVL, its current APY, and then some trend stuff. This yield score indication here is also new, so that's very cool.
Yeah,
this is also new. There's a warning right here for this Athena, that this one is a stake, and it comes with a 7-day unstaking period, so that's good to know. Good flag. You'll notice here too that some of these are stablecoins. So like if you come down right here, Sky Lending, which is previously Maker, now Sky. This is a stablecoin. Let's see. There's USDC curated by Maple. Here's Tether on Aave. Actually, here you go. Here's CBBTC, so Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin on ETH. So that's a good way that you can potentially earn something. Although it looks like right now that's not earning any yield, or at least it's labeled here at 0. So maybe there's a problem pulling it. Anyway, you'll notice as you go down, this symbol right here tells you which chain we're looking at. So Solana right there, and wouldn't you know it, Goodnow up at the top with the biggest pool and also the highest rate. So good to see. So this would be a liquid stake for Solana. So, if you're holding Sol long term, one thing that you can do is liquid stake. You can do the same thing with ETH. You can do this on Lido for Ethereum. You can do it on EtherFi has a liquid stake for ETH as well, don't they?
They do.
Okay. Then I don't
Their
remember
token, I think is LSTETH. STETH? No, that's Lido.
No,
you give them your ETH, they give you a receipt token that you can use in all the ways you would use ETH or Sol if you're liquid staking that.
Yeah, so if you stake your Solana on Goodnow, then you're going to get Goodnow Sol in return, which you can then go off and do other things with to, again, compound that yield. So if you stake the Sol with Goodnow here, for example, 5.93% APY paid out to you through the constant appreciation in price compared to Solana of the Goodnow Sol. It's a little bit convoluted, but it's an interesting mechanic to look at. And then from there, you can take the Goodnow Sol and you can either restake it and add a couple more percentage points. You can loop it, you can borrow lend it, you can all sorts of stuff with it. I like to call Goodnow the gateway to Solana DeFi, and it's cool to see them still up here at the top. I mean, keeping pretty good despite a pretty tremendous downturn. But when markets crash, that's when DeFi stuff gets the most attractive, because you might as well be expanding your conviction and stuff as you're sitting here waiting for prices to go back to what they used to be.
What they used to be. These prices ain't what they used to be. Really quick plug, just on the way past Goodnow Sol, is we have got not just one, but 2 great how to stake Sol with Goodnow step-by-step tutorials. Where Alex's hair is just a little longer. Look at that. Look at that mane, man. Ooh,
God, look at all that.
And you can check that out. I think I wasn't screen sharing for all the people. It's on YouTube. Just search how to stake Sol with Goodnow. It's step by step. There are 2 parts to it. We not only show you how to stake, but then we show you in the second video how to restake. So how to take the money in the account and then go do other stuff with it. It's awesome. It's a great use of an hour of your time if you've never done that. Please continue. Sorry about that. I bumped you off the screen share, I think.
No, I was just going to ask you, so would your recommendation for Bitcoin yield be to wrap it?
No, my recommendation for Bitcoin yield is actually sort of a convoluted roundabout thing. I walked through this with Tori yesterday. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody who does the show regularly. I'm talking about river.com is my recommendation. River.com is a Bitcoin buying solution. Let me get the screen share ready and then I can show you. And we actually have a helpful link. Everybody watching the show who's learning with us, if you're in crypto to make money, I don't feel icky telling you should be buying Bitcoin. Like if you're trying to make money in crypto and you want to swing at like the ball your bat is most likely to hit, you should be buying Bitcoin, especially if you don't have a lot of money. Like your goal is to turn the money you have into more money tomorrow. So buy some Bitcoin. That's the best instrument crypto has invented to turn money now into more money tomorrow. River.com is like Coinbase or Kraken or any other exchange where you might go to turn your dollars into crypto. The difference is River only sells Bitcoin. That's all they sell. And as a result, they're able to offer you the safety and security of something like Coinbase, but they're able to offer you much, much, much better prices. It's a simple sign up. You give them your driver's license or whatever. They're very secure. I'm trying to log in right now so I can show you what it looks like. And they've made me two-factor authenticate 3 times. So you can trust them.
Huzzah.
The best part is that you can set up a recurring buy order. 0 fees on your recurring buys and withdrawals. If you wanted to buy, I don't know, like $10 a week on Coinbase, you're going to have to pay a 10 or 20 cent fee on that order. On River, it's nothing. You pay a fee the first time, but then when your buy order continues, you pay no fees. You can set up an automatic withdrawal to your whitelisted cold wallet. So I buy every single day. It pulls money from my bank account. I buy Bitcoin and then it moves it off automatically to my cold wallet. And the reason I am flagging it as a yield solution is because the dollars you hold on River's platform that you might be holding in your bank, a low yield savings account, earn you 3.3% right now interest in Bitcoin. I don't know anywhere else on chain or off that you can get 3.3% interest in Bitcoin. That's why I flagged it today. And if you want to try it for yourself, everybody who's listening to the show should be buying Bitcoin. And if you are buying Bitcoin, I would love for you to do it with River because you'll get more Bitcoin and you can do it to support the show at no extra cost to yourself. You can find the link to that at rumshq.com/recommended tools and deals. We got a little button there that says use River, help the show. Costs you nothing. You accumulate Bitcoin. Your dollars on their platform earn 3.3% interest in BTC, and the Rise Up Morning Show benefits. We thank you. So that's my pitch for Bitcoin yield. So you got DeFiLlama.com to find the best yield for ETH and Sol. Mm-hmm. Then you got River.com to earn yield on your dollars that you're waiting to turn into Bitcoin. What do you think? Should we plug any other particular yield earning solutions, or do you think that's enough for Angela to be going on with for now? Because I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I would add DeFi Carrot to the pot too, just because. We're going to get a little bit more in the weeds. So first of all, you can earn great interest on just a stable coin with DeFi Carrot. It's a good way to think about it. Is they're like a high yield savings account for your dollars, but your tokenized dollars, so you can deposit USDC there and earn. But they have this other product called Turbo.
I will show it.
Which is cool. Yep. Oh, sorry, it went to the different tab. There we go. Oh, you got it.
I got it. Turbo at DeFiCarrot.com.
Yes. And this is one of those things that you would really only want to mess with if you had like long-term conviction in Bitcoin specifically. So they have a couple of other things here, like gold is there, Solana is there, a couple other different more niche things exist, but up at the top you have Bitcoin. And so effectively what this is a way for you to deposit. And Evan, can you drop down so you can actually deposit either USDC or CBBTC, which is really cool. So what you're buying with this is a token, Turbo BTC, which is a wrapped, leveraged long position that fluctuate. What's it sitting at right now? The rate.
We're getting the leverage rate you're talking about.
Yes.
3.16.
So you're buying a token that can absolutely go down in price. So that is the first thing to be aware of. This changes with the price of Bitcoin. So if this is sitting at 3.1 x leverage right now, effectively what's happening is that if the price of Bitcoin moves 10% up or down, this one moves 31.6% up or down. So if you have long-term conviction in something, you could choose to hold part of it or some of it or whatever you want in something like this in order to capitalize a little bit more on some upswings. You can swing trade this thing, you can hold it, whatever. The big risk to be aware of is that one, underneath this is a leveraged position. The side note there is that because it's low and because DeFi Carrot is mitigating it by swapping back and forth between leverage across a whole number of different platforms, the liquidation risk is extremely low. Like, to put it in perspective, everyone who was holding any of this stuff through the 1010 crash, no one lost anything, which is kind of wild. Nothing was liquidated. So good to keep on your radar, just because you could either do it with dollars or you can buy Turbo with CB BTC, which is Coinbase's wrapped Bitcoin that lives on either ETH or Base or whatever. Yeah, I would consider that one too. It's good to have on your radar.
Yeah, and I would say if you're unfamiliar with wrapped tokens, you know, Angela was saying in the comments she's been observing for a while. She's pulling the trigger on some of this stuff. This is all step-by-step stuff that you're going to want to do with maybe a little hand-holding from somebody who's done it before. And I recommend, if you're not there, Angela, that right now you take the opportunity to open a new tab, head over to community.rumshq.com. That's the website. You can create a free profile there, and we will help you. All our friends in the community will help you. It's a great place to ask a question, get a second opinion, just like you do in the comments on the show here. We can filter out the spammers and scammers, the impersonators, and then also, we're not limited by like 140 characters or whatever YouTube and TikTok and Facebook limit us to. You can post a screenshot. This is what I'm looking at. Has anybody ever done this part before? And your homework, Angela, when you get there, is send a message in any channel and say hi. But I also want to know, Alex, did you catch this? She said she uses a Trezor wallet, but she has an Ellipal and she hasn't opened it yet. So your homework, Angela, is to write us a message and tell me specifically, what's your choice to get a second cold wallet? Are you just trying different products? Do you want to have multiple devices so that, I don't know, if something happens to one, you can capture another? Or I'm just really curious about that, and I would like to get to know you better. Community.rumshq.com. That's the place to go. Alex, if you feel well met on that, I would love to kick it over to Neil's question, because I think this is a fun kind of exploration. We were talking a lot the last couple of months about privacy. And that's something I just don't know enough about. How can I use my crypto without needing to reveal a lot of personal information about myself? So do you want to read folks into this? And I can pull up a little screen share.
Sure. So only just started to glance at it, but sorry, did you just say you're going to pull it up?
I can, unless you want to drive. If you're going to do a first impression, you drive through it. I've got their website, I've got their Twitter, and I've got...
Well, I'll come to you for the Twitter, but I'll start with the website.
Beautiful. What are we looking at?
So it appears to be it's a crypto card that you load. So it's more debit than credit. You have to load it with a balance, which sounds like you can transfer just by, sending the same way that you would between wallets. And then you can immediately spend. So I'm assuming, I don't know that much about this yet. I opened it for the first time 20 minutes ago or so. But I would gather that given that Visa is here, they're facilitating the swap on the back end when the transaction happens. So they're probably spending on your behalf and then swapping and then keeping it. So I would imagine that that's how that works. And
they do have a handy dandy button that says, see how it works. And for folks who want to play along at home, this is OffGrid is the name of the product. And the website is OffGrid, all one word, .cash.
So they're advertising. It sounds like, okay, so up to $4,000 a month. Apple and Google Pay available. You can top it up at any point by depositing, just like you would between wallets. They have an app and a dashboard. It's not here. You can wait list. It's very much like being advertised as exactly as the name implies, an off the grid, so to speak, anonymous spend card, non-KYC card. I don't, I know the button says learn how it works, but I don't see like the explanation about exactly what happens with the spend or how the spend is facilitated. I also don't see anything yet. So the card design says Visa on it. I don't see anything about that specifically. So I'm.
Well, what happens when you click the little FAQ expansion? Maybe it gives you more data there. The very top question was, how does OffGrid work?
It just says it uses ZK and advanced cryptography to verify transactions. So not much information there. What's supported? Literally everything, even shitcoins. How do I add funds? Deposit directly from a wallet. Once it's in, spend instantly, no delays. Okay. Okay, the Visa thing apparently is real. Anywhere Visa is accepted, if they take Visa cards, they'll take the OffGrid card. What happens if the transaction gets declined? It's rare, but it happens. You'll get an instant notification explaining why. Most issues are balance related and can be resolved immediately with a top up. And then, yeah, mobile app or desktop app. So I don't know. I mean, right away, it sounds interesting. I waitlisted, so if I ever get anything, I'll let you know.
Alex, I better do it too, because you are notorious for waiting forever for every card.
You probably should. You'll get yours next week, and I'll still be here 3 years later with my name on 17 different card wait lists and never having received anything. Unless there is a very distinct chance that Christina just throws my mail away when it comes. So who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah, I would say immediately, like it's intriguing. I'm very curious to learn more about exactly what these guys are doing with ZK to make this happen, and I also want to know how Visa signed off on this. That's my first question.
Me too. I'm really curious about that. If you're looking to learn more from the team, I would say probably head over to X at OffGrid Cash. I have followed them from the Rise Up account, and we can definitely send them a little message. Oh, look at this. They're hiring a social media intern. Matthew, you might have to go undercover as a mole. There might be a paycheck, a bonus paycheck in it for you if you can snag the job. We really want to know how they work.
Unknown caller.
Oh, did you hear that? I got a little unknown alert. Hey, I'm podcast land. They're trying to get me. OffGrid is calling my phone right now. OffGrid Cash. Okay, shout out to Neil. And hey, while you're checking out OffGrid, what's Neil's handle? Is it still crypto to college? Because it sure is. If you're on the website formerly known as Twitter and you are not hip to Neil, crypto to college, I believe that's his TikTok handle also. TikTok might be an even more enjoyable visual experience. Yeah. Neil.ai.art on TikTok, at Crypto to College on X. This is a long time friend of the show. We often tell the story about when Alex and I were first trying to get a show off the ground live, how we would sit in Twitter spaces with Neil and Tori. One time, I'm pretty sure we did a whole show to Neil, and he generates some of the most, how would you describe Neil's art, Alex? Delightful and horrifying, and also like,
how would I describe?
That's what I would say. You know, he's got this like this photorealistic but also melting figure, hyper like masculine kind of bearded Bane, but he's wearing like pink high heels. I just feel like Neil says, what doesn't go together? Well, let me try and put it together today. He's got these great creepy clowns. I've loved watching Neil evolve, going from, you know, just how do I generate a picture to a true AI artist. Like, he uses this stuff like a paintbrush, man.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And he also does
everything he makes just like punches you in the stomach.
Yeah. I really have enjoyed watching Neil's art progress. I've enjoyed collecting his work, and I just think he's a great friend of the show. So thanks for stopping by and for the question, Neil. If you've got a question, we got just a couple more minutes before we ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset. Tech CEO said, show the tutorial on how to buy the mug. Did you know that if you love the official mug of the official morning show of the Financial Revolution, you can get it at rumshq.com. We got it there, the same place you go to get the link to River and, of course, to find the Rums community. Shout out to Tech CEO for being the #1 mug salesman and the creator of AIC3, the AI crypto directory. Alex, what are you seeing in the comments and what are you thinking off the noggin as we prepare to wind down today and ride off into the sunset?
Well, I was actually over here clodding about this off-grid card because it's interesting.
Wait. Clodding with a like CLODDING. Tori and I were talking about this yesterday. Like stomping or with your assistant Claude? With
Claude. Yes.
I'm just going to pretend it's the other one and you're like mucking around with some boots over there. Stomping your way to off-grid. What's it say?
So basically Visa's sign off with this is not, so Visa is not like signing off on it being anonymous to the user. It's signing off on the compliance from the issuer, which honestly still leaves me with a question because OffGrid is advertising that they're also not taking KYC. So the OffGrid entity is KYC compliant with Visa's rules. So I guess in my head, like the way that I'm imagining that this works is that OffGrid's on the hook and they basically just are not putting up any money. Like they will facilitate the spend if you supply the crypto. So to them, the risk is probably pretty low. And then they are putting themselves on the hook, like with Visa as the payment processor. And I don't know, I really want to talk to somebody from OffGrid. I'm gonna have to dig through their followers and followings and see who we know that knows someone there because I don't immediately understand how this works or how this, I don't understand how this works, but it's extremely interesting. I'm very interested and I want one. If it works the way that it says it works, it's the coolest thing ever. But also kind of scary.
I got a little distracted by a tiny spill.
Mm-hmm. Which part, dear?
Why is Visa into it? Why are they allowing this to continue?
Oh, because they make money on every transaction.
Yeah,
they don't give a shit. What's the worst that's going to happen? They find out that OffGrid is like doing something shady, so they just like fine the bejesus out of them, sue them for lying, and then make even more money and then drop them. I don't think Visa's risk is negligible if it even exists at all. They wouldn't do this if there was like a significant risk to it. So that's also interesting. But I don't know. There's lots more digging to do, and I want to talk to someone from OffGrid because my first question is like, how can you be KYC compliant with Visa, who would require that if you are not collecting KYC information on your users and customers?
I bet it's a second order thing. Like I bet they are KYC'd with Visa and taking responsibility for what other people are spending. Like there's a work through. The request comes, what's the site again? OffGrid, all one word, .cash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to have somebody from the team on. Let's see if we know anybody there. They look private, so maybe they're anonymous. Chun, chun, chun. But we could still get them on the show.
I mean, because it's interesting to see ZK in this context. I very badly want to know more.
Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned. We're getting OffGrid. Your money, your rules on the show. I do like it. I'm going to sign up for it today, and then we'll.
Yeah, when you get yours, then we can take a look at it.
Oh, and check out who's got it. Is Why Not Crypto Rap. This is a Crypto Rap exclusive that we did a panel with Oz and Mike from Stand With Crypto, and he's actually got, I can send him a message, he's got a video about using it, and he's buying some food with it. He shows how it works at the terminal, and it works as you expect, like a card, but from your phone. You just kind of tap to pay. Okay. So
hook us up.
Crypto Rap, man. This is a Crypto Rap exclusive. And here he is, the greatest crypto rapper. Can he wrap us up an off-grid card?
How's your food?
Let's find out. Alex, do you know what I wanted to tell you on the way out the door? I'm coming to you for a final thought next. I'm asking you, yes, you in the audience, for a final thought. But I wanted to tell you about an experience I had yesterday with my nephew. He was over visiting me and Kimberly, and we were doing just regular stuff, walking the dogs, having some cookies. And he was watching the trailer for Super Mario World. And I was like, oh, have you ever played the original Super Mario Brothers? And he was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, yeah. And I whipped out my phone. I have a little emulator on it. And I pulled up a Mario game, and he was like, wait, I don't think I've played that one. And I was like, oh, you haven't? And then Kimberly came in the room, and she was like, well, actually, Super Mario 3 is the best one. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And so I put it on my computer instead so we could all see the screen. And yesterday, I spent the evening watching my nephew play Super Mario and Super Mario 3, the one with the raccoon suit, for the first time. And it was so fun to play with him and Kimberly and watch them both get so upset and frustrated. The way only a great video game can like upset you and frustrate you when it's got a learning curve. And I just thought it was such a fun thing to do. Has nothing whatsoever to do with crypto. It doesn't need to, but boy, it was just great. I'm so glad we live in an age where you can like, you know, get a file, get a ROM, play it on any device. And I look forward to the days when, you know, our digital things can be truly ownable, when we can share those kinds of experiences. Hopefully crypto helps us protect that. But I just thought it was so cool. If you miss Super Mario and you want to play it on your phone or computer, you can do it for free. It's not terribly difficult. It's honestly probably more difficult to figure out how to like restake your soul than it is to figure out how to do that. And we could show you in the Rise Up community if you wanted to do it. So have you got a final thought? Oh, look at this. Tori had an emulator on her TI-89 in high school. That's wild. What do you got, Alex?
Someone was asking about Atom on like yield options for Atom, ATOM. And I can tell you there's limited options, which is in line with the fact that there's honestly not a lot going on in that ecosystem. It's more of Cosmos is more of an open source toolkit that people use to make other stuff that does things. It doesn't really do anything by itself. And to be honest, they're not really making an effort to. So if you look at yield sorted by Atom, it comes up with exactly 4 options. There's a relatively high yield but low TVL overall opportunity on a chain that I'm not familiar with called Neutron. The project is Hydro Inflow. Neutron
we've had on the show. Oh my gosh, I feel like a terrible host. His name escapes me, but one of the founders on. They're like a DeFi 2024.
Really?
Really. I promise you.
I mean, okay, so to be fair, we're talking about hundreds of episodes ago. I'm going to have to go back and look because I have no memory of that whatsoever. It was cool,
but we thought it was a little technical and a little like level 2 DeFi. It was like, you know, aggregating some interesting, like obscure chain DeFi opportunities. And I think they've actually grown quite well. I've seen them in a lot of conversations with, you know, other respectable people. They're doing good for themselves.
I'll take a peek at that. I got to refresh my memory. But at any rate, everything else is like so negligible that I would honestly be super sketched out. There's a very high yield on something with almost no money in it from Marsland, which is sitting on Osmosis. Chronos has an even lower negligible rate. And then Marsland has another pool on Neutron that it also just... I mean, and these are like, I mean, there's just not that much. I mean, based on the numbers, the top one is your best bet, the Hydro Inflow on Neutron. But
can you tell me too, Alex, like while you got the screen share up, is it possible for you to go to the Gecko and just show me Atom?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the reason I'm asking Alex to do this is because my advice for you would be, like, sure, you might be able to earn 36% on this, but the TVL in these pools is going down, down, down. And the interest, the mind share, the money in Atom is going down, down, down. This is Internet Computer Protocol, but would you show me Atom?
Yeah, I just put this up because, of course, Nick came in and said that ICP is now trading on Upbit, and I just had to point out, like, okay, it's the biggest advancement in ICP's last 12 months. Is another exchange that you can go lose money on. Oh, shots fired. Okay. What am I looking at? Atom.
Atom. The chart is probably, we've heard from multiple people over several years that the ecosystem is declining, that there's not good support for developers, and the on-chain metrics show this kind of the same way they do for ICP at this moment in time. In fact, Nick, actually, like, hey, let me throw you a bone. We had a really good show yesterday where we unpacked some of the metrics about like ICP's transactions, its goals to build the on-chain internet, and why it tracks transactions. That, like, you actually would probably enjoy that show and would enjoy commenting to tell us like 2 or 3 more things that we didn't know. I would invite you to listen. But Atom, Alex, even if they were paying me, what would the APY have to be if you were an Atom holder today? Like, Alex, you just woke up and you found $1,000 of Atom that you've been holding since, I don't know, the very, very top. It just was dropped in your wallet. And what would the APY on that have to be for you not to sell it immediately for something else?
I mean,
it'd have to be thousands of percentage for me. Like, there's,
I mean, it's in this wild scenario.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, enough to where I can like milk it for a little bit and then drop it, because I just think it's going to keep bleeding.
If the rate of return was accelerating faster than this like little price decline, because it's almost all the way done. You know what I mean? I could see it, but I don't have hope that Atom is going to. Can you give me the 1-year chart, please?
Mm-hmm.
I could see a world where Atom gets some kind of news, the market recovers and it goes back to $5, but I could also see a world most tokens that go down never come back up. Atom is closer to the front page of the crypto internet than many other tokens, but I don't know. If you have long-term conviction that's informed by something else and you wanted to stake it, more power to you. Be careful for liquidity. Make sure there's enough money in that pool to trade against, because if your contribution to that pool is more than like 1 or 2%, I would be nervous. I'd be really nervous.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just nothing about it. I would personally be looking elsewhere.
Yeah, it's just not a vibrant ecosystem. Things aren't growing there, and as a token, it's not in any like hot trending narratives. I don't have a lot of faith in it. I don't know how to sell this thing, he said. So, thank you, Alex, for another great show. Thank you, Drew, for an awesome conversation. And thanks to all of you for being the very best part of what we do. We're going to be back for Rise Up After Dark tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, wherever you are, whenever you listen online at community.rumshq.com. IZQ, I think, might have been the person who asked about Atom, said, man, that sucks. I'm so it's tough. And, lest you forget, of course.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you about a token that I don't think is good just because I love you.
No, and to be fair,
as you know, we are just 2 people sharing their opinions on the internet.
That's also true. Yeah, great point, Alex.
Alex we are not lying to you when we say we meet these people, we know them, we talk to them. It's not looking good here, Alex. No. Sorry about that, IZQ. And we hope you're
there are several ecosystems that you can go to any crypto conference or event and ask anyone there if they're tracking this at all, if they're excited about it at all. And the thing to remember too is that all these people do want to make money. So if they think there's a potential for something to do well, then they're going to be interested in it. And that's not one of them.
No. the list of one of them is short.
Yep.
It's pretty short.
The list is very short. Well, as we found out yesterday, the other day, accidentally, the only appropriately valued crypto is Hyperliquid. But
that's right.
Not including stablecoins, Bitcoin, memes. Memes are special.
Memes are special. Memes are special, Alex.
In that they make no sense. And it's all imaginary. But
it's vibes.
It's vibes. Yeah. No data, just vibes.
On the way out the door, Bearded said, ICP, what a boon. ... Boondoggle. Hey. Okay, we gotta go. We're gonna be back tonight for more great crypto Q&A, altcoin research, all that stuff.
That's what it sounds like. And what you're going for is that's the sound of Hyperliquid entering the chat.
Hyperliquid entering the chat. Yeah. I think you meant that. Okay, everybody. Thank you for being the very best part of what we do. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, be well. Everybody, rise up.